Hello. You're listening to What the Fuck Do We Know? Last time we talked about conspiracy theories, and you mentioned something about the media's job is to, I don't want to misquote you, so please complete the sentence.
No, yeah, we were talking about like basically interventions in relationship to conspiracy theories, right? And considering how common the conspiracy theories are, it becomes a problem. And then the question is, how do you address it? And it is related to the government, both from the perspective of the government and from just...
Okay, let's start from there. Do you think the government should try to have an impact on reducing conspiracy theories?
I think that should be the goal. Then
Why?
The question is, well, because generally the purpose of the government to make the society a better place.
Let's just I know where we're supposed to be going, but what harm do conspiracy theories?
Okay, some of them are not harmful.
Okay.
Others are. And
Okay.
those that are harmful and also that are common, those have to be addressed by the government.
Okay.
Like
Harmful, anti-vax.
anti-vaccination or like related to race or ethnicity group.
Okay. Let's talk about anti-vax, right? The government can do as much as give information, but when it comes down to it, they cannot force people to take medication.
That could be a policy.
So you think it would be fine
This is
to force people? Well,
this is a different topic.
During COVID, the government tried
paternalism
to
now.
During COVID, the government tried to incite and tried to persuade people. It was seen as forcing, but they, by restricting other things, so people feel the need to get the vaccine. Is this a policy that you are comfortable with?
I think there are different degrees of paternalism and how do you enforce the policy, right? There is on one extreme is just killing people if they don't get vaccinated.
I feel like we could have just gone to imprisonment, not killing.
No, it's more extreme. Killing is more extreme, right? But what most governments did is just informing and just trying to incentivize, make it easier, make it accessible, and then maybe limiting some spaces for unvaccinated people. And I think I'm totally fine with that. I think that's
Is that because of the consequences of being unvaccinated?
It is because of the consequences impact the entire society. So I think people should have a lot of choice when it comes to their own stuff, body, and risks. I think it should be legal, by the way, to not wear helmets. I think
It should be illegal or
it should be legal.
To not wear helmet on a motorbike?
Yeah. Or not fastening your belt.
Personally, I agree with you, but there's always people who make the conversation, you're not using a seatbelt. I think it's illegal, no?
It is. No, it's not.
Well, it's
very,
punishable.
Administrative.
Yeah,
It's just a fine. So there are also different degrees of punishment.
But
here,
people would say how far does it go?
How far? Yeah, I mean,
because
it's
the
a valid
conversation
question.
about for example, Roe v. Wade in the U.S. We talked about it when we did paternalism, I believe. It's a thing about the government should stay out of my body, but at the same time, you want government to make policy that keeps the government out of your body. To some extent, it's like the asking the government to not control you, still asking the body to make policy for your body. So I think that it's just people will ask, how far does it go? Where is the limit? If we say, okay, you can make a decision for this, then the government can then eventually find a way to make you to do things that are.
I think regarding abortion, I think it's slightly a different conversation because here again you have basically from the perspective of pro-life people, you have a conflict of interest between a woman, a mother, future mother potentially, and a child, an embryo, right? And there you have two lives basically, and there is a conflict of interest between them. So here, where do you stop? And I think it's a valid question. I do not support killing people, unvaccinated people, but limiting public spaces, for me, it's a reasonable line. I would even go maybe, what else? What is further than that?
Like throw them in a ditch. Let them live the rest of their lives in a pit. Bitches.
Traveling, right? Traveling, I think traveling is totally fine. Not letting people without vaccination to your country, this is totally fine. I don't see a problem here. Maybe like not letting people who work for the government, like unvaccinated people, to work for the government.
I would say with the vaccine, with the anti-vax crowd, usually they are also part of the pro-life crowd. It's very funny to me.
Why is it funny?
Because they literally say the government should make legislation about women having an abortion.
All right.
So. And then at the same time, they say, my body is my choice.
But again,
vaccine.
There is
but it's the point is that there is literally the same slogan used for pro-choice.
It's ironic,
and anti-vax.
It is ironic, but then there is embryo.
But nevertheless, I don't think that with anti-abortion. So if it's one thing to say late abortions, which don't happen, except necessary. But then it's another thing to say, for example, 2 weeks pregnant, you cannot do shit about it.
It is also different, right?
I don't think it's pro-life. I just think it's pro-babies.
Well, it's pro-baby.
No, because I think pro-life is about you're pro, like, improving the quality of life for something.
Well, yeah, there are also different definitions. And then there's like, you keep on thinking about the quality of life for the child. Whose
life should have quality of for who is already alive or who is out in the world. Also, just thinking about the quality of life for the child. People who want to get abortions are not in a position where they can rightfully take care of a child. So if you're thinking about pro-life, what life?
Yeah, it should be also not just life, not just quality of life.
The quality of life is important. But we really, really digress.
Yes. So I think the government should intervene on important issues.
And the
question is
how?
How exactly? The question is how. And like also, what is even more interesting for me is the role of media here. Because
when you say media, you mean news media, right?
News media.
Okay.
Right. Not social. Well, social media, we can discuss it separately. News media. Traditionally, what is the best practice for journalists is to give word to both sides. And
okay, what does that mean?
That means that if you have two opinions on one thing, you should give both sides the word, some time to express themselves.
Where is the truth in these two opinions usually?
Well, that's the thing that usually, like, the best practice for journalists is to kind of show it neutrally and for the viewer to decide who is right and who is wrong.
Okay, we're talking about conspiracy theories. We remember that conspiracy theories are usually implausible. Not usually, massively implausible.
Exactly, that's the problem.
So what is this other side? What is the journalist then doing? Amplifying the conspiracy theory? Making more people hear it, increasing the amount, not definitely, but potentially increasing the amount of people that believe in this conspiracy theory.
And that's exactly the problem
So I don't agree that these two sides things at all. I hate it.
No, but okay, but do you generally agree that media should give two sides? But you would agree that in reasonable cases.
Depends on the issue.
And who decides that? The journalist.
Well, yes, no, it depends on the issue. If there are two sides to an issue, two reasonable sides to an issue.
Who is the judge? What is reasonable?
Well, the journalists, yes. I expect the journalists to have enough intelligence to be able to decide what is reasonable. Because listen, there's a difference in like tax policy. There are two sides to tax policy. I could even say this in the abortion conversation, there are two sides to it. There is no like absolute like truth or whatever. Then there are things that there is a truth and there is a lie. And the problem with this two sides thing in media right now is
from your perspective.
No. There is a lie. There are things that are lies, that are just plain lies. I'm not talking about I know that there are things that my perspective are true or whatever, but there are things that are just plain lies. And this is the problem with news media these days because of this nonsense of we have to give everybody a point. Let's take the US because I watch a lot of the US. The election thing. The election happened. People said there was election fraud. They investigated, they said there was no election fraud. News media still gave space to people to come up and say there was election fraud. This is people coming up and just lying and spreading a conspiracy theory of how the deep state is doing something or whomever, Democrats are coming together to try to steal your vote. This is something that did not happen. And this two sides nonsense, that's what happened. The MSNBC hired some lady. I don't want to mention her name because I don't think you'll know her. Stefanik, do you know her?
No.
Anyway, it was Rhonda. It was Rhonda.
I don't know her either.
Okay. Anyway, but they hired her, and she was like a big, like election was stolen person, and they hired her to come on because we should have people from both aisles of the. No, this bitch was lying. This bitch went around lying and lying and lying. Why are we giving her space? I don't agree with this two sides. There's not two sides to everything. Some things have two sides, and I can say, yes, the media should show it, but there are a lot of things that don't have two sides. And it's just unprofessional and irresponsible to amplify the lie.
The thing is, okay, you said there was an accusation that the election was rigged, then it was investigated, right?
Yeah.
Then that one was investigated, but let's imagine the US has relatively good institutions, relatively good prosecutors, and it's relatively fair and transparent. Now let's imagine we live in a society where that is more authoritarian. And then there was also an investigation, and they said there is nothing. And then there is no formal kind of feature that you can just say, oh, the government said that there is no fraud. That means no fraud, and we will not let opposition to come on our media and discuss it. It's like It becomes subjective, and you give the power to journalists and go ahead.
There is no one rule for every country.
Okay.
I use this case for the US because it's a very obvious case. They have transparency. It was easy to investigate.
It's obvious, but 40% of people 50% of Republicans believe there was fraud.
Why did they believe that? Because people told them that there was fraud. Even after it was proven that there was no fraud. Because a lot of media channels kept on inviting people to say that there was fraud. Even till today, it forced people to go and try to break into a building not because they just wanted to, but because they believed that there was fraud. So it's in this particular case, I use this situation because in the US, because it's an obvious lie. But in different situations, it's different. Maduro just basically said he won the election. And it's not that easy, but there are a lot of signs and proofs to show that he didn't win the election, that it was rigged. In that case, we have a totally different situation. Maduro controls media. He would have media announce that it was rigged. These are different things. We have history. We have different events that can show us what is a lie and what is true. But in the case of the US, I'm not saying, that's why I said it's not the same for everything. There are some things that can be contested and on media and should be contested on media. But there are things that aren't contestable. But the problem with this two sides thing is that the media just thinks we should show it all.
Okay, so after the investigation happened, right? At that time, there were already a lot of people who believed that election were rigged. So how do you convince those people that they're wrong? You have to address it somehow, right?
Yes.
How do you address it without arguing against points that are presented by those people who claim that elections were rigged?
If you are the media that those people actually watch, which Fox in this case was, and they didn't show the results, they continued it. What you do when there is actual proof that the election was not fucking stolen, you cannot force the people to believe you, but you can actually show the proof. If you were airing that the election was probably stolen, then there was an investigation, it was shown that the election wasn't stolen, then show the results.
But do you have to show also someone who argues, okay, that investigation had this and this and that problem? Do you air them, those people, or not? That is the best practice of media.
I don't think that you air them because you are still spreading a stupid conspiracy. You're airing. We want to stop the conspiracies, yet we platform people with conspiracies. We do, because we want to stop someone from saying the elite is blah. We want to stop anti-vax conspiracy, yet we platform people who constantly say that big pharma or the elites are coming together and Bill Gates has something to do with the vaccines. We keep platforming them. How do we come? I don't know who else has to make that decision. It's the journalists, of course, because it's their domain in that situation. And they have to choose. But I just don't think it makes sense. If you have seen a very transparent investigation that shows that this thing is not fraud.
Don't you
know that? What is the point of bringing someone to contest the investigation if you're not trying to continuously sow doubt in people's mind?
But don't you feel like that you're kind of there is freedom of speech, right?
Sure.
And like the kind of one of the traps of like what sometimes politicians fall in is that when you think you're right and you have power, you want to restrict freedom of speech of people who disagree with you. And then like the trap is that then once the desk is reversed, then like you are in a position when they will use the same thing against you, and you will not be able to do that because you created this precedent that a person in power who think they are right can just restrict.
But that's not what it is. This is not about
people
people in power, like in the government or something. This is a private organization, news media. It's not public news media.
Okay, even if they're private.
A private organization gets to choose. Freedom of speech does not stop a private organization from choosing what is aired on their media. It's their business. That being said, your freedom of speech will not go in and stop them from airing what they want to air. But that being said, I don't think the government is doing that. I don't support the government silencing people. I think you can go on the street, you can go to public forums and say whatever the fuck you want to say. But I think that when we talk about news media, when you are a journalist, you have some kind of code of ethics. You've taken up a responsibility of delivering information to the public. You've taken that responsibility. I'm not forcing them to do it, but I think that it's extremely responsible to platform people who spread lies. If you think that your job is to spread information, and I think they believe factual information, what is the point of platforming a person? As a private, I cannot stop them, but what's the point of platforming a person who's going to spread a lie just because you want to show two sides? It's sensationalism that you're going into. It's all about ratings, all about money in that case.
Do you see how that could go too far?
In what sense?
In what sense that you will stop? Because I'm sure most of the
Fox
time
News
journalists
does not platform people who tell the truth.
Well, that's also too far. Most of the time journalists don't agree with their guests, people who they interview.
But it's not about agreeing or not.
But do you see how that can go too far, and you can only
then
platform people?
It's not a journalist. It's a journalist, but it's like an unethical journalist. Because it's not about if you agree or not. That's not my point. It's
about what is reasonable or not.
No. It's not about the truth. Is not just what is reasonable to your mind. You're a journalist. Do your fucking research.
Yeah, sure, but according to your research, like the person, there
for example,
so
if
many
someone
more people
comes
who don't
on
support
and says it's not about what people support, though. There is research that has actual factual information. If someone comes up to a journalist, excuse me, and says vaccines cause autism, as a journalist, you don't just platform that person to talk about it and to spread their lies.
Okay.
If you search information, you will see that there is no scientific link between vaccines and autism. It's that easy. So it's not about what is reasonable or not only. It's about what is actually true.
Well, you have, let's imagine you have Donald Trump. We don't have to imagine that. But if you invite that person to an interview, there will be many lies.
Okay.
So according to your logic, 100% there will be lies. You don't invite that person. You don't platform.
Are you going to? So Donald Trump is a special case because Donald Trump is a political candidate for presidency.
So if enough people support a person, then you can
personally, based on me, I wouldn't put him anywhere because he's gonna lie. I wouldn't put him anywhere. But why he's on? If you want me to explain
Biden also
why.
Lies.
Not like Trump.
Not like Trump, but he also not like Trump. I agree, but he also lies.
If you invite Biden to an interview, you don't expect that it will be like 90 minutes of lying.
I agree that.
If you invite Trump to an interview, you expect 60 minutes of lies. And this is the thing: is that I'm not saying they shouldn't, because it's a private organization. I'm not going to police what they do. But as a journalist, one thing that you're going to, what will happen. If I were a journalist, I would never invite Trump to speak. But journalists work for networks. Networks want to make money. They invite him because they will get viewers, and that's all. Let's be frank. He's a presidential candidate, and he does have an audience. He does have a people that they have to speak to. so that he has to speak to. So it's about money. It's not about giving someone a chance to say what they want.
Sure.
We all fucking know what Trump has to say.
But money aside, we are being idealistic here. So what I think in terms of just consequences, right? If there is an idea that is not common, not prevalent in the society, and you have a big platform, and then inviting this person on the platform and you being like not just asking questions but actually contesting it, it will still bring more followers to that idea just because your platform is so big and the current followers of the other person is so small. If there are many people, like, I don't know, 50% of the population believes something, you, like, no matter what, you give this platform and you fight.
Why do you have to give that person the space to speak? The person, if you're inviting this person to your platform, it means that they have at least a following because of these ideas they've been spouting. You can take the time on your platform to just debunk this without them.
And you will target your audience, but your audience is already with you. When you invite that person, the audience of the other person will watch it, and then you have...
Okay, I agree.
Okay.
And if you're doing this, are you going to fact check the person?
No, you will contest, yes.
And you fact checking the person?
No,
it's not about contesting.
I mean...
I'm not talking about having an argument.
In real time?
I'm talking about, yes, in real time. I'm not talking about having an argument. I'm talking about journalists, yes, having an interview.
No,
yes.
They prepare and they...
Fact check in real time. I don't understand why people don't want to do that. Fact check a fucking person in real time.
No, because usually you are taking an interview. You have time to fact check.
Why do you have to finish all these questions? I'm sorry, if I were a journalist, I start my first question and you're running around, I'm going to stop you and tell you, answer my fucking question. Then we'll stop.
I don't think...
Because I have not much to lose than you who has come to sprout your ideas. Rather than and while you're beating around the bush, but that's not my main point.
I think you can just prepare in advance.
The main point is this. If you're inviting someone, fact check the person. That's all.
You can just prepare in advance and just...
Prepare what in advance?
You prepare questions in advance and you prepare all the facts in advance. You don't need to fact check if you already know information, and then you just contest the person when they lie.
What do you call contesting?
Oh, you just say you're wrong.
Well, say you're wrong, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you're wrong because I have this data.
Because you're wrong is just, that's fact checking. You're wrong is just ridiculous.
It's not fact checking because you're not literally fact checking in real time. You're just saying, like, I know that this is the wrong data and this is the right data. It's not fact checking.
What is fact checking to you?
It's like when they tell you something and you just go on the internet and like fact check it.
What the fuck is that? Are you serious?
That's my definition.
Are you serious? Fact checking is bringing the fact to the person. What?
Like for me, it's like
honestly, you think that the chyron that goes under people's talking is somebody going on the internet and pulling out information?
No, they prepare in advance.
Just type the answer, the correct thing. Sorry.
No, I think they usually prepare in advance.
Of course, because they know the person's lies.
Yes. So, but usually it's done kind of like with respect.
Also,
anyway,
even if they don't prepare in advance, they have people who are fact checkers and whose job it is to write the thing.
Let's call it fact checking.
My main thing is, even if you bring the person on your platform, first of all, are you going to fact check the person? If you're not going to fact check the person, don't bring the person to have two sides. This is where my main problem is. Don't platform a person to say we're bringing two sides of an opinion, especially if we all know. Well, not we all, I guess. Most people, at least who have seen the actual truth, know that this other person is...
We all know. You know that when there is, like in the US, 40% of people...
I'm not talking about things that have opinions. I'm talking about things that have truth, things that have fact, things that actually have fact. It's not about people's beliefs.
Conspiracy. That there is some secret government that... like secret government lodge or whatever, and they operate everything. Is it a fact or not?
Is there a secret government, Slavik?
I don't think so. But is it a fact that there isn't one?
It's a fact that there isn't one. It's according to me. Okay. According to anybody who checks it, it's a fact. So to bring someone on your platform to just go, oh, in my opinion, there is this, there is that, there is that. What is the point of that? If you're bringing them to fact check them, that's one thing. Not, and what do you think? And what do you think? What is that?
No, I agree that
How is that journalism?
Okay. Also, not necessarily journalism, but just, let's say, I don't know. There are many debates on the internet, like many intellectuals on the internet who just debate, right? and opinion leaders. And as an opinion leader, like, how do you approach debating people you disagree with when the issue is actually important? Like, do you... Like, okay, I watched this one interview of a guy. He's an opinion leader, and he said that he's been...
Hates that, by the way, opinion leader.
Oh, it's normal. It's a normal term. So anyway, he's known for being like reasonable, like he's known for having polite conversations and like having good debates and like being civil during debates with even the most extreme people. And then he said that he kind of analyzed all the kind of feedback that he had from those debates, and it's like all the feedback was like, oh, it's so nice that the two people can just sit down and have a civil conversation, blah blah blah.
I hate this so much.
Yeah, and that's what he hated too. And he said that I debate people who are like, I think they're fucking nuts. I think they're fucking crazy. But I'm just being civil just for the purpose of debate. And then like the consequence of that is that I'm kind of
legitimizing them. This is my problem with being
and that civil. Was his problem, and he decided to stop doing it.
Good for him. Because this is my problem with being civil. I hate when people say in the past we could sit down and have a conversation with people we disagreed with. Bitch, the people I'm disagreeing with are crazy.
So there are different degrees of disagreement.
Yeah, like in the opinion.
Like we disagree here a lot.
Yes, but you're not saying a lot of like stupid shit. Well, sometimes.
Rewind previous episode.
Thank you. Okay, but no, but you know what I mean? It's like you're debating, for example, just imagine you're debating some kind of chauvinist, misogynist kind of person who believes like women remain or to some kind of biological predisposition to be at home and be in the kitchen and stuff. Why the fuck am I going to be civil with this person?
Yeah, that's the question. Because
when I'm like, I'm just like saying that, and I guess this is maybe a bad thing to say for most people who make debates, but I feel like when I'm saying civil, I'm basically saying that in my world, there is space for this ideology that I'm debating against to exist. And the reality is, in my idealistic world, this shouldn't be there. I think this is crazy. I think this is nuts. And I don't want to in any way have people think like, that's just an opinion. That's not the point of my debate. The point of my debate is to dissuade people from this opinion.
So then the question is, what is more efficient, right? What is the more, because you know that the people usually in public debates, people don't debate to persuade the other person. That is usually not the case, because people who publicly debate on the issue, they're very convinced in their views.
Oh yeah, no.
So you fight for the public, right?
Yeah.
And then like, what is more efficient for you to be reasonable and try to deliver and not like, what's the word? Polarize the
Polarizing is more efficient, because what happens in reasonability is people go out, they both made good points. That's what
and they
people
move a little bit in your direction, but
that they do
a little bit, but
because
not
when you are reasonable
enough.
And the other person is also like reasonable or whatever, they don't move.
I think they move a little bit, but not enough.
I think that people just sit there and go, they both made good points, and that doesn't do shit.
Okay, so you think that when you appeal to emotion and when like,
yes.
that's the interview that I watched. That guy said straightforwardly that bullying is also a good thing.
Yes, I think you need to antagonize the person you're debating against. You need to make them seem like you need to appeal to emotional, like it should be an emotional argument.
But that is what...
Well, it depends on the kind of debate. If it's a show debate, it's a totally different thing, by the way.
What do you mean by a show debate?
Oh, like a debate show, like, I don't know, like the one I wanted to do, you know?
That was kind of more like professional debate.
Yeah, that's what I mean by show debate.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's like with judges.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is different.
That's different.
I mean, just like a YouTube debate.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Like, antagonize your fucking opponent. Let them, especially if it's something that you strongly believe in.
Well, that's the thing that's like, from my personal perspective, is that I'm like trying, how do I put it? It's like, for me, from intellectual standpoint, right, you want to address ideas. Again, you don't want to get personal because that is like ad hominem, right? That you don't want to appeal to emotion because that is also not, this is also a fallacy. And like, if you want to have an intellectual debate, you need to be civil. But then like the question is, what is your goal? If your goal is to convince people, then I can agree that appeal to emotion and like attacking the person, that could work. Bullying could work, probably. I don't have a strong opinion, but I'm ready to consider it. But then if you want to have a conversation, then you will go like into details and you will try to, oh, that's an interesting idea. How do I will try to argue against it.
Why can't you do both?
I mean,
why can't you have a detailed conversation while not being compromising?
You can, but again, like if you appeal to emotion, for instance, you can't appeal to emotion and not to appeal to emotion at the same time.
I think
like,
you can.
You can say you're fucking stupid, or you can say I strongly disagree with you.
No, you can say here and here and here are the reasons why you are fucking stupid.
Oh, that is a very antagonizing. Yeah, so that I wouldn't call it civil. This is
I didn't say it was civil.
Okay.
I'm not pro civil debate. I think sometimes, I'm sorry, but this is something that like people I hear on American TV a lot. Like, you can be friends with Republicans. You can be friends with people who disagree with you on policy. Like, imagine I am a trans woman. Why the fuck am I having a civil debate with somebody who says like there should be no medical protections for trans people? Why am I fucking having a civil debate with that person?
Kind of attention, but would you agree that most people who identify as centrists in the US right now support Trump?
I don't think that they support Trump, but I think that they are more comfortable with Trump than with Kamala, for example. I don't think that centrists support Trump. I don't like the idea of a centrist. It's like independence.
In the context of the US politics specifically?
Yes, in the context of, I don't know, in context of anything, honestly.
No, why? I mean,
what is a centrist? I'm not a centrist.
Well, first of all, I don't like identifying like left-right centrist. It doesn't make much sense because it's very context-based, right? In one country, you might be on the left. In the other country, you might be on the right.
You're on
and your views don't change.
I don't think with like policy, with many things, I agree that there are spectrums for things. Even for policy, there are spectrums on both ends. There's no middle in the spectrum.
No. What I mean is that you might have the same views, but if you consider yourself in the context of one country, you will be on the left.
That does not mean that there is no such thing as right or left. It just doesn't change the fact that there's right or left. If you're in Spain, you're on the right. If you're in another country, you're on the left.
Yeah, but it's context-based and it's time-based.
But it still exists.
It exists, but it's just, I prefer to like label myself, if I have to, with things that are more like less context dependent.
Is liberal good for
Liberal is good. I mean, I don't like, I know in the US it's kind of like getting, there is a lot of stuff, baggage, you're right.
But liberal,
like,
in the
generally,
original
I
sense
like,
of the word.
Not original, like original, like 19th, 18th century original, no,
modern liberal.
Modern, yes. So yeah, but like, I don't like those left-right labels, but
you don't like them doesn't mean they don't exist. But I'm not a centrist. Sure. I don't like centrists. I don't know
why don't you like centrists?
I don't like this compromising nature when it comes to policy. I really am. I'm very. We've talked about this before. I hate wait your turn people. I hate slow progress people, because you have this slow progress people and somebody's always suffering while you're like chill. Well, I'm not compromising when it comes to policy.
Wouldn't you agree there are, and I'm trying to think of, but there are issues when you want to go slow.
Like what?
I was trying to think of an example.
Because if you think of
Ukrainization. This is something that...
What does that even mean?
Ukraine is like the you want to spread Ukrainian language and Ukrainian culture in Ukraine.
That's what it means?
I mean, that's Polonization, like Russification.
I didn't know that that's what it meant. Ukrainization. I've never heard it before.
Okay.
I've heard of Russification.
Russification.
Culture and language.
Well, it's both usually.
But here, because of the nationalism impact, but doesn't mean that I'm a centrist on it. I'm on the side of liberal. I think people should be free to speak whatever language they want to speak.
And that's like, centrist.
So it's not
because
a centrist.
On the one extreme, you would have someone who just, let's just cancel
not for me. Like but I'm not like on either sides of this particular. I'm a liberal, and my liberal view is uncompromising.
And that could be called centrist.
It's uncompromising. It's in the sense that everybody should speak whatever the language they want to speak.
Oh, that's why I don't like this left and right and centrist, because you don't really know what the person thinks.
What is left on Ukrainization in Ukraine?
What is left in Ukrainization? I guess it would be no Ukrainization.
Liberal. Me. Well, no forceful Ukrainization. I think that eventually the language will take over.
I guess like left. I haven't heard anyone defending this stance.
I'm not against the country making it the official language. That makes sense. It's Ukraine. Why not?
No, but I mean the left would say that like there should be. I'm sure they would probably say there should be. Russian should be an official language.
I think Russian should be a protected language.
I would prefer for Ukraine for Russian to be an official language.
I personally, in my opinion, I think Ukraine can be an official language. Russian can be an official language. A lot of people speak Russian. Why not?
It's
so my liberal view is that people should speak whatever language you want to speak. Don't make any language less acceptable in society, and it's uncompromising.
I think in some contexts it could be called as a centrist view.
And then that person is dumb. I'm kidding.
No, but independent.
I just thought that last part was too serious. No, but I personally, I'm not a centrist in many ways. I'm very uncompromising. I hate that people like to meet in the middle or whatever. So if I lived in the US, I would vote for meet in the middle Democrats because I think those are the people who win elections.
Okay.
Nevertheless, I hate it.
Okay. So do you think that, again, antagonizing, that it is a better strategy to win the public?
I believe so. Because This is the thing. Because you want the public to see that the other opinion is bad. That's what makes people...
So you want to force them to pick the side?
Yes. You want them to see that it is bad. Especially if I was a politician, I wouldn't be having a civil conversation, shaking hands.
How far would you go?
Jolly with... I'd call this person a fucking asshole. And like that's in words, but I would very much like expatiate on how bad I think these policies are. I'm not gonna be like dancing in the. You will never see me if I was a contestant for presidency. You will never see me at a party with a person who are all being all giddy and being like.
That's why you will never be in that position.
That's why, yes, because I will be very aggressive with my politics. I would be extremely aggressive. I would never.
What about down. Oh, okay, appeal to authority.
But that's why I wouldn't be there, because when I look at politicians, I understand that they do have to make deals.
Exactly.
So I understand it, but I hate it.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing is that, like, I noticed that sometimes people criticize some decisions and they just say, hey, that person wanted to sit on two chairs at the same time, and that's why they fucked up. And they fucked up, and they were not in a good place. And but then this is clearly a survivorship bias, because most of the time politicians do compromise, and most of the time they do succeed.
It's just impossible to just railroad everybody and pass your own policies only. It's just not your side is not the entire country. Well, so it's not possible.
Even in a two-party system, you still have different wings of the same party.
Imagine you have a parliamentary system and you have all this.
That's even worse.
You have to create coalitions. It's really much worse. So I do understand the need for compromise. I do understand why you make a bill and then you put this and you take out this, etc. I don't like it though, because I think it restricts actual progress.
But can't you do both? Can't you just say, I disagree with this person, I disagree with them strongly, but...
That's what they do.
But I will compromise because it is better than the other.
That's what they do typically. And that's
fair. That's honest.
Is what, for example, right now with Gaza and stuff, with Gaza, there is Kamala and there is Trump. And a lot of people who protest, pro-Palestine protesters, don't like anybody that was in the past administration. So they don't want to vote for Kamala. But then you have to tell them, look at the alternative, which is what I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It happens, but I very much don't like it. I think that I hate that it happens, but I'm not going to go and say, why aren't you passing all the things that I asked you to do? Because I understand how the government works, and I understand how people have to make deals, how coalitions have to be formed in different countries, etc., etc. I just hate it. I think it really restricts progress because we keep there's always someone who is left behind.
You just mentioned something that I wanted to talk about in our previous episode.
What?
Regarding conspiracy theories. You mentioned that you understand how the government works. And I think that this is also one of the problems with people
I agree.
Who believe in conspiracy theories. They just don't understand how systems work.
Yeah,
they don't understand how like incentives work. They don't understand, like, for instance, the scientific community, right? There's a strong incentive for you to leak whatever conspiracy is. You will become a renowned scientist and get a lot of money out of it. Journalists, same stuff. So it's just like people don't understand how systems work. People don't understand how a big group of people just can't conspire and maintain a secret because their interests are just not aligned.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think people just don't have any idea, and they don't want to search at all.
Search, you like searching stuff.
No, I really think that the thing is that when people say search for something, some people think that it takes so long. But there's a common thing now. Joe and Kamala talk about Roe v. Wade a lot. And Kamala and Joe say they'll codify this and make it a law, etc. And all these people, young people, go on there and say, do it now. You're in power. Why don't you do it now? And often it's just like with the American system, the election is complicated, but the way the government works is very easy. And it just takes literally, if you just typed in, why doesn't Joe Biden make abortions legal federally a law? You will see an answer. He can write it down. It will not pass.
He's stupid.
It will not pass because you guys have a cabal
society.
Have a Congress that works one way. You have a Senate that works one way. You need democratic control in this person. But people don't do this. Instead, they just go online and start shouting things or start spreading information and blah, 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 blah. Why don't they want it? Why don't they really want it? What is behind it? Just fucking search.
Okay. So one thing I also want to agree that I coming back to two sides of the story. Like, I agree that, there is this saying that the truth is in the middle. And that is just like, logically, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. That is just a thing to point out. But a moral question for you. So how far, potentially, as a politician, as a person who cares to convince other people for whatever reason, how far would you go in a debate, in a YouTube debate? Like, how dirty would you be willing to go? Dirty, personal attacks. Like,
relevant. I'm not going to go and talk about,
but you don't know shit. Like, your experience, like, I don't know, I have that education. You I don't know, you sit at home and read 4chan, you don't know shit.
I don't have to mention my education. I can just say you don't know shit.
No, but that's like appeal to education. It's also
I don't mind saying you're dumb, you're stupid. I really don't mind saying it if a person is saying stupid things. I'm not just going to say like you're stupid because you're stupid. I'm going to say you're stupid because here are the list of stupid things that you've said. And if you keep on saying stupid things, I feel like it's safe for me to assume that you are a stupid person.
And everything you say is stupid.
Well, keep it up. We'll see.
Oh, you also said bullying. Like, bullying, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like bullying.
So that is bullying.
Kind of, yeah.
And how far would you go?
No, because what happens there is that you can intimidate the person and have the person, make the person like express this crazy views less, like confidently. And that is a tool as well.
Would you agree that contributes to the polarization of the society?
What is the problem with polarization?
I think, like in the US, I think there is a
people like complaining about it.
But you disagree?
It's polarized, so what?
It's a big fucking problem because you can't really have any nuance on any conversation. You can't really support any ideas on both sides. You have these packages of knowledge, and if you're pro-Republican, you have to believe in this package of views. And if you're a Democrat, you have to do that.
You don't. You literally don't.
And that makes you a centrist.
No, it's not. You literally don't have to believe in every particular thing. There are people. Well, you don't. It doesn't
That's
make
what
no
happens
sense.
right now in the US.
Well, yeah, because people are stupid.
And that's what
It's not
because of the polarized society.
See, polarization will happen. There are polarized societies, that's fine. But you choosing to not do any kind of research, any kind of information checking, that is a choice.
No, the problem is that in some societies, of course, there is always diversity in the society.
Yeah.
There is always, but usually it's kind of like a bell curve, right? And there is some consensus in the middle. Here in the US, you have two pumps on the extremes, and then like if you want to fit in, you have to be within one pump.
I don't think that's necessarily what happens in the US. I really think that, I don't want to say it because I'm more left-leaning, but I think that the left is not just like a pump on the extreme. The left is more diverse than what the right
okay.
is. Also, the right, not really as well, but it's just who is louder.
And who has more influence right now?
Louder, I think, more than influence.
Well, right now,
how many people?
Wouldn't you call
Trump is
on the extreme?
Yeah, he is on. Well, listen, he is catering to the extreme.
Yeah, but if he behaves like an extremist, I
think that I think he just like follows where the crowd goes.
Right, but if he actually,
so I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying like he's catering.
Policies.
So he's catering.
Yeah, but that
no,
makes
I
him
do agree that he has a lot of influence, but I think that a lot of Republicans just fall in line because they're trying to save seats or save regions and stuff like that. They don't want people to not vote.
That's why Trump has influence.
I would say yes, but I would say on the left, it's not the case. People have many different like extremes, like not extreme, but different like opinions on the left.
I agree. There is more diversity.
It is a problem for them because it creates a lot of infighting, but still, it's diverse opinions.
But I agree. It's healthier, much healthier. But I don't know.
I don't like it sometimes, but it's healthy.
Well, I'm not really on social media that much, but like from what I hear on social media, it's still, there is a lot of polarization, even on the left side too.
Yeah. Well, there is. Yes, there are extreme leftists.
And the problem is that I think that in countries that are less polarized, maybe countries that rely more on parliament, that have multi-party system, that they don't have like, these two poles. They have several different poles, at least like 5 different poles, like far right, centrist, like centrist left, far left. And that is already gives you at least 5 different poles, and you can kind of, it makes things more like a bell curve. And then you meet in the center, and then the center kind of moves, like Overton window moves with the culture changing and people's opinions changing. But and that system is more stable, and
I think what needs to be done is the people on the polar right, which I think I am, not like right like conservative or whatever, but right like correct.
Well, everyone thinks they're correct. That's the problem.
But it's not just about thinking. I have a good knowledge.
And you think that Trump supporters don't have a good knowledge? You think that person who you mentioned, 666,
Trump supporter,
they don't have, they're not
Trump
that
supporter
sure?
who is not, a Trump supporter who is supporting Trump because they want their party to stay in power and they want to pass more conservative policies is different from that 666 woman. The 666 woman is, and I don't know her, is stupid.
And if you knew her, you wouldn't call her
I would tell her. I just don't know her, so I couldn't say her name.
Oh, okay.
I was going to give her a direct.
No, but the reality is she thinks she's right.
Yeah, of course.
She's convinced. And you are convinced.
We know the truth.
No, I think you're closer to truth. but just because I know you personally.
But I'm gonna say I do think that the polarization for me, it comes from people just like maybe just falling in line rather than having more opinions. So I think, yes, before it was different. You had conservatives who were fiscal conservatives, you had conservatives who were social conservatives, and there was a difference. That was reasonable. But with Trump, everybody has to fall in line there. But I still think that the diversity does exist in the left. And when you talk about extreme left, what do you consider extreme left?
I mean, for me, it's the first association is like fourth way of feminism, and like very like Okay, I'll give specific examples. Like, all men are like
Misogynist?
involved in like misogynist, right? Or
I'm sitting next to one, so I don't sit all line.
okay, or all white people are guilty of racism.
I've never met anybody who says that.
I've never met personally anyone.
I've never seen anyone online who says that either.
I've seen people apologizing for it, which
But who is asking them to do it?
I don't know who asked them, but they feel the pressure to do it, which already says something about the environment they are in.
There are a lot of people in that environment too that don't do that. There are a few people who do this apologizing for racism.
And
and
that's
most
just
people
far
don't
left
do
for
it.
me.
I'm sorry, I don't think that
And
it is
people
the
who do
environment.
it, they are also far left.
No, I don't think it's the environment that I take umbrage at your statement that it says something about the environment. No, they exist in the same environment as other people who see that there was a problem with racism before and then they try to correct it. And then these people, it's not a problem of the environment they live in, it's a problem of their perception.
Okay, but those people are far
I'm
left.
not disagreeing that they are far left. I'm just saying I don't agree that it's a problem of the environment. I think
it's always
it's a problem of them, not the environment.
It's
No, I'm
always
sorry. A
environment.
lot of people
They wouldn't say it out of nowhere.
No, the environment does point out that there was a problem with racism.
And they go too far with it.
Yeah, it's them.
Yeah,
They
but
go
you
too
can
far
always
with
say
it,
it's
not the
them,
environment. It's
but
not the
the
problem of the
influences
environment.
their
So the
opinion.
environment should not point out that there was racism.
No, they should, but again, like
It is them.
there is always
It's them.
there are always people on the extreme.
Yeah,
right?
it's not a problem of that. It's them. The environment
I'm not saying
has that.
there
It's
is,
them.
like in
You cannot
the
say that it's because of the environment that they become extreme.
wokeism. Do we talk about it?
Yes, we have.
Right. So wokeism in the most like not spoiled interpretation. I'm fine with it. But then, like, of course, you will have people who take it too
but
seriously.
that is not the problem of
it's not a problem.
wokeism.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a problem
I
of
agree.
the person.
But still, there is some minority that goes too far, and that's just what I call far left.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing.
Okay,
What we're
agreed.
disagreeing on is that it's not wokeism's fault there. It is the people who take wokeism too
It's
far.
not a
their
fault.
problem.
It's consequence, but
It's
it doesn't
not a
mean that it
consequence
shouldn't.
of wokeism.
No,
either.
it is.
Because wokeism
If there wasn't
has
for
many
wokeism,
things, but it's a consequence of these people not being able to correctly perceive and understand
wokeism
things.
didn't exist, this
it's-
opinion wouldn't exist either. So, but I still think it should exist because it brings more
not a
value.
problem. See, this is the thing: is that it's a consequence of these people's honestly lack of intelligence, because they are not able to see or listen to something and correctly assimilate what
We've been
it is
talking about other people's intelligence
No,
too
but
much.
in this case, it really
today.
is, because it's not about the environment, and that's what
Okay.
I disagree with. I think it's the people.
I have a rant about Trump.
Okay, go ahead.
Last thing, but what I can't I've been thinking about Trump a lot lately, and I'm kind of what I can't wrap my head around is why so many people support Trump. And I know that I'm kind of late for the party, but it's still relevant. And I understand why people support some conspiracy theories, not QAnon, but some of them. I understand how people support many populists. I understand how many people support many authoritarian people. I understand how people support Putin. What I don't understand about Trump is one thing, is he is just, for me, his benchmark of being a non-trustworthy, phony person. And with all these different conspiracy theories that we discussed, with all Putin, for instance, I understand how people support him. He talks about, geopolitics and international, Russian's interests, whatever. A lay person does not have everyday experience with geopolitics. Or a lay person relating to the US doesn't have an everyday experience with Supreme Court decisions or constitutions and checks and balances. Also, a lay people, they're not wired to solve these types of problems. But what people are wired to do is to judge whether a person is trustworthy or not. Mm-hmm. What people have everyday experience with is to trust whether this person is trustworthy or not. When you go to a shop, someone's trying to sell you some shit. this is your practice. You know this person is just trying to sell me some bullshit. When a person is approaching you on the street and trying to sell you something or like ask for money, you have to make those decisions every fucking day. And so this is what I expect people to have, this kind of bullshit filter in their mind.
Okay.
Everyone. You don't need to have, it's just common sense. It's just your everyday experience and you're wired to make those decisions. And I don't understand why this bullshit filter doesn't work with Trump, because for me, he's just benchmark of being a phony person.
Okay, so quickly in 1 minute, two things you said. One thing, people don't know the general workings of diplomacy, of foreign policy. Trump doesn't either. Trump appeals to the person who doesn't know and hates to be lectured about things. Trump appeals to the man who says, like, you think you're smarter than me? You think you know better than me? Because Trump doesn't know as well. So he's talking on their level. Trump simplifies every fucking thing. And he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's why he has simplified it. He himself said he didn't know what NATO was before.
Really?
Yes, he said it at one of his rallies. So he doesn't know these things. He simplifies it and makes it go like, we'll ask NATO for money and they'll give us money. That's all. For the person who doesn't know shit about NATO, they don't want somebody else to come and talk to them about the complexities. Okay, like Kamala gave a speech about the protesters after like this thing with Netanyahu. And she talked about the situation in Gaza and she talked about the complexities of the situations and blah, blah, blah. Trump is just going to come out and say, we're going to shoot all of them. He's appealing to the person who doesn't know and doesn't want to be lectured and doesn't want to be made to feel like they don't know. So they find him. He is their person. He is their representative.
These politicians, Biden, Harris, all these politicians, they don't really lecture. They're also quite populist.
What you consider a lecture is different from what these people consider a lecture. Just telling somebody something in like Trump really simplifies things. If you hear him speak, he talks as if things are just like this.
And that's I think it should trigger something.
Yeah, no, but for a lot of people, it makes them feel like they know it. Makes them feel smart. Makes them feel like he's talking on their level. It makes them feel like they can connect to some politician rather than think like, oh, politics is so difficult. I don't want to go there. And they don't. Yes, Kamala does not lecture. Biden does not lecture, definitely. He talks a lot, but he doesn't lecture. But for a lot of people, it's like, oh, you elite, you're telling us what to do, you're telling us blah, 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 using your smart words, blah, blah, blah. And Trump does not do that.
I'm still trying to
that's how people can like
reconcile
him.
With it.
He just really appeals to like it sounds so elitist when I say this, the commoner.
Layperson.
Yeah, we should stop there.
No, you're not starting at, but I'm wrapping up. Yeah, I don't, here this is the case where I don't disagree with you, but I also don't agree with you. I'm still on the journey to figure it out because it doesn't sit well with me yet.